I was hoping to be working on the Riley again today. I'm slowly making progress getting the garage sorted out. I've started going through all my boxes of stuff, of the bits and pieces that need to go into my little electronics room, and I'm slowly getting that set up. I've got my 3D printer working again, and the laser cutter getting set up and things like that. So there's still a little bit of stuff to sort out, but then a lot of it will go into boxes and go into storage. The poor old Austin 7, I haven't got that VINed yet because a few things have come up this month. One thing I have looked at doing is getting hold of some additive to use in the cooling system. Up until now, just to get it running, I've been running modern, just antifreeze coolant. This all gets a bit complicated these days with coolants and what you can use in these old cars. Modern cars have different cooling requirements. There's all sorts of different coolants around, different types that you can't mix. You used to be able to tell what a coolant was based on its color, but that doesn't really work anymore. So I've been doing some research, and for the vintage cars, the pre-war cars, which aren't running a pressurized cooling system, there are better things you can use. So I'm getting hold of some Fernox F1, which is an additive that gets added to central heating systems to stop corrosion. Central heating isn't quite so common in New Zealand, so it's not as easy to get here, and it's quite expensive. So the one I'm looking at is the Fernox F1, which sells in the UK for about £12 for 500 mil. The price I've been quoted here is 70 to 80 New Zealand dollars, but a 500 mil container will go an awful long way because the recommended concentration for that stuff is 0.5%. So say for 4 litres, which is what you'd get in a package of that coolant, that would be about 20 millilitres of this additive. And what that does is it stops corrosion. They do make another one, Fernox Alpha 11, I think it's called, and that's also an antifreeze. But where I'm based in New Zealand, freezing isn't really a problem. So I'm just going to go with the plain old anti-corrosion stuff, and apparently that works really well, and it's compatible with these older cars because it's designed for a mix of different metals in the radiator system. So it should be fine for these cars. Other people have used it and they recommend it. So that'll work really well for the Austin 7 and also the Riley when I get to that. And I was hoping to be working on the Riley tonight, but I've ended up with another problem, which is my poor little MGB here, which hasn't had a lot of use lately. I did go out the other day to buy some workbenches actually for my little lab. And when I got home, I noticed that there was a big puddle of water under the car. My first thought was the top radiator hose here, which has actually been weeping a little bit. And I thought it had finally given way here, where they actually stamped, oh, if it'll focus, stamped numbers into it, and that was weeping. So I thought I'll replace that, but it hasn't actually fixed the problem. So I've been looking at it a bit more closely, and it looks like the water pump is leaking. You may be able to hear it. You can hear that sort of ticking. So I have run the engine, I had it up to temperature to see what was happening, but I don't know if we'll be able to see it. But if I squeeze the top hose, which pressurizes the system, you can see there's water just pouring out. So instead of work on the Riley, that's what I have to do now, is take that water pump off and see what's going on. It's a bit hard to see where it's leaking from. There is actually a drain hole in these, somewhere at the bottom here. And the idea is when the bearings and the seals start going, water will start getting through and it'll leak out of there. So you can see that it's going before it actually all seizes up. So I may just try and figure out if that's where it's coming from, in which case I know it's bad and I'll need to take it off, but I think I need to take it off anyway. got the water pump off the car, the bolts all came undone easily because I always assemble them with copper grease, and it means when you come to take it undone later on, they come out easily. And there's not much to look at, so I'm not sure how you tell really if it's good or bad. The only thing I did try is, this is the drain hole on the bottom, so it goes that way up normally, and before I took it off I tried that hose squeezing test again, but with my finger over that hole, and that did stop any leaks. So I'm pretty sure that's where it was coming from. And I sort of cleaned this up a bit, and if I blow air through that hole, you can hear it coming out in here. So I'm pretty sure the seals in here have gone. So that means a new water pump. When I originally got the car on the road, for a little while I had terrible overheating problems. And eventually I figured out the reason was because this water pump, when I got it, I don't think we'll be able to see, but down inside the inlet, right down on the inside there was actually still flashing from when this was cast. And that flashing had pretty much blocked off that passage. So I was able to knock that clear. I took the pump off, knocked it clear, got all the debris out of there, of course, so that it could flow freely again, and it's been fine ever since. But I do wonder if in the time that I was suffering from the overheating, maybe that just cooked the seals in here, and eventually it failed. Saying that, it's still taken 10 years for it to fail, so maybe that's just what they do. So I'll just have to get a new pump to go in there. You can see the coolant in there. It's not very corroded, which is good. I'll clean this up, just scrape it clean. Hopefully the new pump comes with a new gasket. If not, I can easily laser cut one. Now I've almost got my laser cutter up and running, and I'll just have to order that and bolt it all back together when that arrives. I did lift the car up mainly so I could get the container under there to catch any coolant that spilled, but it doesn't seem to matter where you put the container, you're always going to spill some on the floor. So it was just a little bit of car stuff today, and I can't really do much more until a new pump arrives and I can put it back together. I've mentioned before that I like to try and do even just one little thing on the car, on the Riley that is, every day, just to keep things going. So today, this is my one little thing. This is one of the parts I was missing, which is the handbrake ratchet, which gets bolted to the side of the torque tube. So I'm just going to clean this up in the sandblaster here. Put that in there. I think I mentioned the other day that one of the jobs I did, I've been meaning to do it for a long time, is to seal this thing up properly, because it would always leave little puddles of sand. I also had to repair the gloves, which were starting to wear out, just sort of in there. And I think I may have done too good a job at actually sealing it up, because this will get noisy, because if I turn on the vacuum cleaner, which I'm using for extraction, just make sure the little vents are closed. So yeah, it's actually putting so much suction on it, it's denting the whole thing in. Luckily, I remembered there's actually a vent at the back. If we can see it. The new water pump is in. Doesn't seem to be leaking. Just letting it run up to temperature now. the trickiest thing on these later MGs is just getting all the air out of the system, because you can see there's no radiator cap. The highest point is actually here on the front of the engine, and then there's this kind of overflow reservoir thing. So I find the simplest thing to do is fill it up as much as you can, and then by sort of squeezing that hose, you can suck water from here. You pump the air out and then suck more water in. So I'm just going to let that warm up to normal temperature and check it's not leaking, and then call it night.